Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to the Powercast. And today we will be recapping Power Book 2 Ghost, Season 2, Episode 9. And the title of the episode is A Fair Fight? Question mark. And today I'm here with Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing, Richard?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
What's up, indeed? What's up, indeed? And I'm also here with Miss Dana Abercrombie. How are you, Dana?
I'm excited.
Good, good. Please don't snitch on me. Go of snitching. But yeah, today was a very interesting episode. Last week, we were all saying that was like the best episode we've ever seen. This episode, it might not be the best episode I've ever seen, but so much happened in this, like so many like amazing, incredible, and crazy things happened in this episode that it's like, wow, like I can't believe where this show is going now. It's like, wow, there's like new surprises every week. So yeah, it was one of those episodes. So we are going to get to our takeaways here very soon, where we're each going to give our takeaways of the episode, and then after that we're going to have a question and discussion segment where we kind of analyze the details of this episode a bit more. But before we get to that, I just want to remind everyone, if you enjoy this show and you want to support us and you want us to keep doing this every single week, then please consider liking the video, commenting on the YouTube video, and subscribing. And if you're on a different platform listening to us, like Apple Music or Spotify, please also follow the show or leave a comment on those platforms. Also, we're on Amazon Music now as well, and many other avenues. So yeah, just do your best to engage with the show as best you can, because all of that stuff lets us know that the people are enjoying the content, and we will continue to bring this show to the people who enjoy it. So with that being said, we're going to get straight to our takeaways, because we know that's what you're all here for. And I also I can't wait to see what the commenters are going to say after this as well. But for now, we're gonna head over to Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. and get his takeaways on this episode. So take it away, Mr. Richard Bailey Jr.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I will say yes. This was a good episode of Power. Last week, yeah, it definitely felt like it was the best episode of the entire show, and definitely, of course, of the season. But there was a lot of things that happened in this episode, which pretty much sets up which should be a very exciting season finale next week. So they did a good job on that. I have three main takeaways I'm going to get into here right now. The first takeaway of this episode, basically, we spent a lot of time finding out what my client, Mecca, what his true intentions are. First and foremost, I saw a very, last week, I know when basically the diamond ring was stolen, there was a lot of people online saying, Mecca probably has a tracker or something in that bag. And there were some people suggesting, well, he has a tracker in the actual ring. Well, those people were right on the money, and I thought it was great that not only did you find out he had the tracker, so he knew exactly what happened to the ring as far as who had it, but on top of all of that, we find out that this guy is an informant. Not just any informant, one of the biggest informants that, has ever, highly well known and highly regarded. So in this particular episode, I like how they basically said that this guy was, he basically was the one that ratted out Lobos. If you ever seen the original Power show, you know that Ghost and Tommy had to take care of Lobos, Ghost primarily. So I find it very interesting how they had that call back in there. And he made the line about, if you ever go to hell, basically give your father my regards, because of your father, they never found out that I was the one that snitched, and he got away with it. So, very interesting to get all that insight on Mecca and basically get an idea of what his goal was this entire episode. He, of course, with Monet back on his side, he did everything he can to try to repair the family that he has with Zeke and Monet. Even goes so far as to lying and backing up Monet, because we had a scene in this episode where, Zeke confronted Monet, telling her about what happened with Carrie and asked her if she was involved. She said no. And right after I got kicked out, I came right here to Dante's place. We know that's a lie. So obviously still lying to her son. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen when he finds out the truth, because obviously that truth is going to come out at some point in time. But Mecca, pretty much this whole episode, just basically asserting, his role, taking over. We saw that he had Kane locked in his apartment. He made Kane number 2, and he definitely knew that Kane was the one that played a role in getting that diamond stolen. So yes, very meticulous, very pretty much aware of what's going on around him. One of the things that I definitely will question going into the next episode, however, is we know at the end of this episode, he basically came to an agreement with Kane and Monet when we finally find out that Monet finally finds out, oh yes, so he is the Connect. And they have this plan about taking down Lorenzo. The problem with that is that, yes, we know about the agreements, the fact that Mecca would take care of the kids. But the thing is, Diana and Drew don't know anything about those agreements. So I'm very curious to see what happens next week. Obviously, they're going to go after Lorenzo. Lorenzo got his drugs and money. So Lorenzo is doing good right now. But I'm very curious to see what happens next week, because it's this leading to this showdown between Mecca and Lorenzo. And obviously, I don't think that both of these characters makes it out of this season alive. One of them is probably going to get killed. So we'll see what happens. But a great episode as far as finally revealing more secrets about Mecca, showing what his true intentions are. But I will say this: if Mecca is cold and calculating, there's no way in hell that he could think that this plan is going to work out perfectly. He'll be pretty gullible if he thinks so. But we'll find out what he has in store, because I kind of feel like he has a backup plan in case Monet or Kane decide not to agree with him. But we'll have to wait and see what that's all about. So that's one takeaway. The other two, these are going to be a little bit briefer. I had to talk in more detail about my client, obviously. Brayden and the Weston family. This was an excellent episode for Brayden, as far as showing you how loyal he is to Tariq. The fact that he finally found out about Lauren's involvement, and the fact that they used that to basically try and get him in trouble. You saw that he was willing to stick to his guns, and he couldn't bring himself to killing Lauren. We did, however, see that his brother Trace ratted out Tariq. Ratted out Brayden. So that situation right there, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that, because obviously we spoke about this earlier in when we were covering the beginning of the season, that Trace was going to be an issue, because this guy it felt like he could reveal some information to the feds and get his brother as well as Tariq in trouble. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen if Tariq ever finds out that Trace did rat him out and did say stuff about him. So we'll see where that goes. But in terms of Brayden, yes, he struggled in this episode because he was going to have to kill Lauren. He could not do it. Of course, I'm going to get to what my next takeaway is here in a minute. But I'm just glad that we got an episode to see what Brayden was made of, in terms of, and I think they did a very good job with the tension, because as you saw, him, basically driving Lauren away in an isolated place, you're thinking, oh, he's probably going to kill her. But you question, is he really going to do that? Because once you kill somebody, you become a totally different person. So I'm glad he didn't take that route. But again, and again, we also know that Tariq did end up getting that photo. He had a bit of a falling out with Tariq in that discussion. So it makes me curious to know where their relationship will stand going into the finale. Obviously, he's going to remain loyal to Tariq to a degree, but needs to see how badly this photo impacts his father, because that can be that can really cause issues within their relationship. And then of course the fact that Diana and Drew had their own motives in this episode to basically try to get the information and get access to where where all the drugs were at. So obviously, Brayden hasn't yet discovered the stash is gone, and Tariq hasn't yet discovered. Are they going to blame each other when they actually do come back together? Who knows? But it's they're going to be some drama between them. I predict next week because of that. So we'll see how that pans out. The final takeaway, I want to talk about the women and Tariq St. Patrick's life. Because in this episode, now we already addressed Lauren, obviously. We saw that Tariq tried to do everything he could to protect her still. And again, the way they ended that whole thing with her and Effie, it kind of made me think that Effie did kill her, but they did not show that yet. We'll probably get into that later because that may be something where they say for the end of the season where her body is found or something. I don't know, because Courtney Kemp did allude to there's going to be other deaths before this season's over. So I'm just saying we'll see what happens. But in terms of Effie, what I like about Effie is that, we know that she's attached to Tariq. She said this in the last episode. We know that Tariq is still messing around with Diana as well. But you saw in this episode that Diana used Tariq to get the information so that she can basically get the drugs. So Tariq probably hasn't noticed that yet, obviously. And obviously he needs to know you cannot trust everybody. So, I'm curious to see how he's going to react, because I don't think it's going to be positive once that goes down, once he does find out that, she played a role in getting that information. But going back to Effie, again, we know Effie is attached. And in this episode, when they hinted the fact that Effie did something to Lauren, because obviously she told Tariq, you cannot trust her. I don't know how you felt. I don't know how the viewers felt. This made me feel exactly like the whole relationship between Ghost and Angela in Power, because Angela broke the law several times to save Ghost, to do whatever she could to try to save her man. So just like this, Effie is attached to Tariq. She's the only one that gets him, understands him, and yet she would do whatever she can to protect him, even if it means killing somebody else. So, like I said, what was great about this week is that you had these three, all three of these women. Obviously, we know Lauren is now, she's off to the side, but Diana did something bad. Effie might have done something bad. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the reaction is when that news gets out there and how Tariq will respond to that. So overall, though, I thought it was a great episode. And as I mentioned earlier, it sets up what should be a very exciting, action-packed finale next week. So good job on the writers.
Yeah, definitely great job to the writers. Yeah, excellent takeaways. I'm sure we're going to be discussing a lot of that stuff in a little bit. But yeah, great observations there, indeed. So we're going to head over to Miss Dana Abercrombie now and get her takeaways from this week's episode. So
All
go
right.
ahead, Dana.
I thought, okay. Basically, stay with me. This reminded me of Harry Potter. And I say this because you know how everyone, you're in school, you're learning your lessons, and then by the tail end of Harry Potter, you have to go off in the streets and learn everything that you did from the class, and you have to take it out and then put it into what's going on in your life and how you operate and move in the streets. So remember when Harry Potter, when the school got shut down and they were looking for Voldemort and they had to actually physically go out there in the world and find all the horror courses or whatever you call it? This is what this was. Remember, there is no lesson of the day, technically, because Carrie is dead. But it started out with a dream sequence or a nightmare sequence with Tariq basically going into class and Lorenzo Tate, or just Tate, writing down, is there any such thing as a fair fight? Question mark. And there we would see Jabari. We also saw Proctor, which, by the way, he didn't know Proctor was dead. So that was really interesting. He was like, oh, you're here? What? Um, we saw Kanan, Raina, Lakeisha, Ray Ray, Carrie, and Ghost. Technically on the phone, because I think he had a falling out. Point is that one of the things that Jabari said was, I would love to hear your take because you never play a fair game with anyone. So it's all of the ghost of Tariq's past, on how he may have directly or indirectly have been involved with their murder, and how they weren't given a chance at a fair fight. Look at all of the trails that you've left behind. And so Tariq, maybe at this point, is reevaluating everything about what he was able to do and what he has done and the things that his father has done, and really decide who he wants to be as a person, as a man, or even as his legacy in general. And we see a couple things that he does that I feel really separates him from Ghost, and really wants people to go out there and to live. The main purpose is to live. You have the first thing was with Yasmin and the adoption. And you could easily see he wanted to go in there and be like, hey, I'm here, I'm going to fight for you, whatever. He realized he didn't want to disturb whatever peace Yasmin could have in the future. Whether or not they end up finding each other later when he's a grown man and Yasmin is 18, we don't know. But he wants to step out of her life and understand that stepping out of her life could give her a future. And he didn't go barging in there, and he purposely made that decision and that choice for him so that Yasmin can go out in the world and have that fair fight. She won't be connected with the past. Remember, her name is being changed completely. She won't have those burdens that, say, Ghost or Tariq is carrying. Oh, you're the daughter of Ghost. Because remember, every time they meet, if someone meets Tariq, you're the son of Ghost. He doesn't want that for her. So he wants her to go out there and be able to play this game of life on a more equal playing field, the playing ground, or whatever you want to call it. Another thing that was really interesting was Zeke's birth certificate. This was a big thing where he was just concerned about the NAACP finding out his age. Lorenzo was the one who leaked. Oh, no, I'm going to go back to that. We're going to put a pen on that because I haven't thought about that. But the point is, the leakage came out that he was older than what he actually is, 4 years older, and we all seen the memes on Twitter, which was hilarious. But this already doesn't give Zeke a fair chance at anything. He's already deemed a liar. And as I said, the NBA probably don't want to touch him at this moment. And this was all something that he wasn't responsible of. This wasn't something that he was like, Ma, we should do this and fake my age. This was something that he knew nothing about, aside from 24 hours ago. So he wasn't given that fair chance, and he wasn't given a fair fight and what he was going through. Another thing that was really interesting was going back with Lorenzo. Not Lorenzo, sorry. Going back with Mecca, or Mecca Dante, as it is, the biggest informer of all of New York State, or the world, apparently, where the feds were even concerned about him. What was interesting is that he isn't giving anyone any kind of fair playing ground as well, because he is the big snitch of everything. But what was really interesting about him for this episode was I saw a little bit of fear in him. Once Tariq was like, "Oh, you're Dante," full name I can't remember, but you're that Dante who's basically the snitch. You're responsible for everything. If you kill me, I'm going to just release all of this. So decide what it was. And for that moment, he hesitated. He really thought about it, and he hesitated. And I was like, "Oh, he got him." And even though he got the two, he said that they have to work out that deal, and then he'll give him the $2 million. He wasn't so big and bad at that moment. So his weakness is actually his past, which I thought was really interesting. I thought that he, coming into this, didn't really have any weakness. He was impenetrable with everything. And then you see him just in fear of people realizing who he actually is, because that would bring upon all of everything against him. All of New York State will be coming after him because he put so many people in jail. So that was really interesting, and kind of one thing that was really Lorenzo that I wanted to put a pen on. I believe we had the whole thing about, remember there was the shootout that happened, the drive-by. That was the most tackiest drive-by I've ever seen. It was incredibly slow. No one was aiming correctly. It was just really tacky and random. And I felt, I'm pretty sure everyone else felt, I don't really know if that was really Lorenzo. And as she kept saying, "Oh, look, Lorenzo set you up. Lorenzo set you up." Mary or Monet has not been playing a fair game at all from season 1 and season 2. She's always had to have that control power. I don't think that was him. I don't think that was Lorenzo. At the same time, I really believe that that could have either been Monet or randomly, what if it was Mecca who set that up to make it be like, oh yeah, we're gonna have to kill Lorenzo. But the way how Monet at the end was so adamant that Lorenzo has to die, I really feel that it was probably Monet. So then you can, in a way, say that you can compare it to the other ghost. Because remember when Tasha went to Tariq, we got to kill your father, that whole situation? We don't know the conversation that Monet and Kane had when they were in that apartment waiting for Mecca to return. So that could have been another really interesting dynamic there. Also, the whole situation with Lauren and Effie was really sad because Tariq the whole time was trying to protect Lauren no matter what, even though what she did was wrong. And he wanted to give her a fair chance. She got in way over her head and he wanted that fair chance for her. But when Effie showed up, I thought it was Kane at first. But when Effie showed up, I just kind of knew it was the end. But here was the thing, I don't really know if she's dead. Effie, it's easy to talk a really big game, but I don't know if she's able to pull the trigger. I don't know what happened there. And even though she left she was really sad in that bed. And you can easily make the conclusion that she killed Lauren. What happens if she couldn't? What happens if she realized within herself that she couldn't kill her? And that's also another part of sadness of realizing I could have killed this girl. I think that you can dislike someone, but no, you don't want her dead. We can all talk a good game about, oh yeah, now pop him in the chest 3 times. And then you sitting there with the gun and you're like, I don't know if I can do this. So that really left it open ended. So I don't know what's happening in that situation. And really lastly, Brayden came into his own on this episode because we all saw Brayden before. He had the big mouth and yeah, let's go rob people. Yeah, pew pew pew. That was fun. I'm getting high. And he realized that this is way more serious than what he seen in movies or in TV shows or what he had learned from his black friends and what he sees about black culture or whatever culture just in general. Oh, I can be that big bad gangster, but when he has to actually kill someone, he can't do it. And maybe this will have Brayden realize, I don't want to be a part of this game anymore. And he may be stepping back from the whole situation in the upcoming season. I mean, it's something to really think about because when it was time to actually kill someone, he was like, "What? Really? No." So I really think that he is realizing what the heaviness of his actions are and how the consequences you have to actually start partaking in the consequences, and he doesn't want that. So he will probably, maybe, take a step back. So this was like my top so far.
Can I make a quick comment before you go, Gary?
Yeah, you can.
Let me just say, exceptional takeaways, Dana. Now we know why you are the entertainment editor extraordinaire. So continue, Gary.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
Yep, because the way you tied up everything about the fair fight, that was fantastic. I just want to make that comment. So go ahead.
Yeah, I agree, and I liked your take on Effie as well. With you saying, it's very open ended, and we don't know if she actually has it in her to go through with that, cold hearted murder, of Lauren. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Also, just really quickly, if you look at something, I remember how she said, "Oh." When it was questioning her with Tariq and the relationship, remember with Kane? He's like, "Oh, so you're like," and just not verbatim, but like, "Oh, you're booed up now." Like, no, I don't have feelings for anyone. You realize that she's lying to herself.
Yeah.
And she's getting in, you would say, too deep, and she's forming emotions. And she's forming emotions just in general. So even that could include Lauren. Because at the end of the day, all that said, she's a person. It's an actual human being. So that, emotions can sometimes override a lot of things.
Yeah. And you can see just by, looking at her, she has a lot of like internal conflict within her. And I think there's still a lot we don't know about her as well. But we are seeing, more of her as the story plays out. So hopefully, maybe there'll be some shocking revelations about her coming up soon. Who knows? But yeah, we'll talk more about Effie and Lauren in a little bit, but I am going to go ahead with my takeaways here now before we get to our questions and discussions. So, firstly, I just want to say that I enjoyed the whole the scene where Jenny was speaking to Brayden and Trace and everything, and like I like how they set that up with the possibility of Brayden having to testify against Tariq, but then Trace also stepping in and basically giving up everything he knows and what they did with Kane and everything like that. So he gave Jenny all that fresh new information that she didn't know, that she can now use in the trial to tie everything together. And Trace, he held no punches. He was just like free flowing, and Brayden was trying to shut him up, but he just kept going. And that was an interesting dynamic to watch, and I want to see how much we see that dynamic play out in the finale. It's building a lot of tension going into that episode, because now we don't know if Brayden's going to be the one to take the stand or if Trace will. And if Trace does, then we know he probably won't hold back unless they find some way to get to him ahead of time. I don't know, but we're gonna have to wait and see if that happens. But yeah, if he gets on the stand, it's likely to be a disaster for Tariq and Kane possibly. So they have to try and do everything they can to make that not happen. Now, if Brayden gets up there, he could cover for Tariq, but like Rich said, there's now a lot of tension in that relationship. There's a lot of friction because you have the Mayor Sweeney picture out there, and we could see that backlash come out next week, ahead of the trial. And if that happens, Brayden is going to be very upset about how his family is being perceived in the public, and he's going to know that it was all Tariq's fault. And then also, Tariq burdened him with the whole Lauren thing as well. Like he put that on Brayden, like you've got to be the one to take care of her, and then obviously Effie shows up and does what she does. But just putting that kind of pressure on Brayden, that was a lot as well, and obviously it was Kane as well. Kane was involved with that, but all of that pressure together on Brayden. And then you have the drug situation, like Rich, like you two brought up, like the drugs going missing. So that is likely to be a point of tension as well, in their relationship. So yeah, a lot can go on with with their friendship and what Brayden's perspective might be when he goes on the stand. Whether he wants to hurt Tariq or help him. So yeah, now we've got that to look forward to see how that is going to play out, because he could also flip on Kane as well if he wants to, and then Kane could be the one to kind of take the rap for everything. But we have to wait and see how that happens. And also, I'm wondering if it's going to be Tariq and Effie specifically who might find out about the drugs being missing. And the reason, I'm wondering about the possibility of Effie finding out is because if she is able to figure out, or if Tariq is able to figure out that it was Diana who orchestrated this, that could lead up to a moment between Effie and Diana, because they were getting close. They were like getting friendly together earlier in the season. So, and we know that both of these women are kind of like love interests, or the main love interests of Tariq at this moment. So, then it could set up like a scene where those two kind of confront each other, over Tariq and about the drugs as well. So I'm wondering, if they might go in that direction. Maybe it will happen, maybe not, but we'll see. Um, and I really enjoyed the revelations about Mecca and his character, because throughout this season he's been a very kind of mysterious figure. We've seen the whole, we saw him introduced as like the plug and everything, and then we saw the whole setup of him actually being from Monet's past, her previous lover, and then we found out about him being Zeke's father. So there's been a lot of like little things revealed about him, but he still had like a mysterious aura around him. And now, in this episode, we find out he has a very rich history, as an ex-military, informant, basically. So yeah, and it seems like he's very well connected as well, because if he's able to agree to get Tariq $2 million, just like that, then he must have some pretty deep connections, So I liked that, we kind of found out a bit more about Mecca and his character, and I'm wondering how they're going to play that card now that they've set all of that up. And now, we have the situation with Monet. I do wish we would have seen, the moment Monet, I guess she puts two and two together in her head at some point, but I was expecting more of like a big lead up or revelation into her finding out, but yeah, I guess like maybe the when the shootout happened, I think Monet had a moment of like, this guy, he's
No, it
not
was the
telling me
picture.
something. The picture?
Yeah, remember when she was like, "Well, send me the guy."
Yeah. I know that, but like even before that moment, it kind of seemed like she put two and two together. It was like, because it was like
It-
very casual. It seemed very casual that she's just
so
like, oh, send me a picture of this dude.
so
And
so
then like,
basically what you're saying is you wanted to see her reaction as soon as
yeah,
you saw, he is the connect.
yeah, exactly. Like I
Yeah.
was thinking, and I don't know if it's because they want
He
us to
wanted to
believe
tell
that.
Gorilla.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because they wanted us to believe that she figured it out preemptively or something. But yeah, I was expecting like more of like an actual reaction of like, oh, okay, yeah, this is him, so it's the same person. But yeah, it just kind of ends with her being at his apartment with Kane, and but still, it's still interesting though, because now I want to know where it's going next, because now we have the setup of she wants him to kill Lorenzo, and Kane has actually agreed to this. So and then, like Dana said, they could have actually, Monet and Kane could have actually spoke to each other, while before Mecca showed up, and they could have their own plan of what they want to
That
happen. So
see, I don't want to cut you off. I just want to say that, and that's why it adds to the intrigue of what's going to happen next week. Because you saw when Mecca spoke with them at the end, and they were just like, "Yeah, we're 100% on board with your plan."
yeah,
It's like Mecca cannot be just believe 100. No, obviously we know that he sprung on Monet. Maybe he would think she would never ever do anything to harm him. But after what happened with Kane in the previous episode, I mean, you need to be a little cautious with this family. But we'll find out what happens next week.
yeah. Yeah, we will. Like, I feel like there's a bit of like they're all playing each other at this point. Like, I feel like Monet and Kane have a plan, and I feel like Mecca has some sort of backup plan also. So, yeah, I can't wait to see what the resolution of that will be. Um, so I just want to go into something a little more here, but I'm going to use Mecca as like the lead in. So we saw that Mecca, he has an ex-military background. He's able to secure $2 million out of nowhere, through his connections. He's been able to get all this drugs and everything, and buy all these like clothes, and he's able to tell Monet, look, I want to move you and your entire family somewhere else. We can go live in paradise together. He's able to make all these moves possible, right? So I just want to say that it was great to see that they tied his history also into previous events of power with the whole Lobo thing. We saw the moment where he, he tells Tariq, if you ever see your father, in the afterlife, give him my thanks, because it's because of him killing Lobos why I was never revealed as the informant. So there's all these references to the history of power and ghosts specifically. At the top of the show, we see all these characters come back, Proctor and everyone. We see all the ghosts of these dead people. There's one ghost we don't see though. But instead we see a phone call, and so I just want to say that throughout this entire season of Power Book 2 Ghosts, I feel like, they are starting to really, really tease the whole ghost thing, the whole, Omari, is he going to show up as a ghost thing? And it's reaching a boiling point now for me. And I feel like, the fans are buzzing so much about this that at some point, like all of these teasers, are they going somewhere? Are you going to do something with it? Are you going to like do something major with it? Where is the payoff of all this teasing going to go? Like Ghosts set up all of these different plans for Yaz and Tariq and all this stuff, like in case this happens, do this, and all that stuff. Like all of these references to what Ghost has done in this season, it's reaching a boiling point now. And I'm like, are they going somewhere with this? So, there's been a lot of talk online about this. The fan base is buzzing. People were hitting me up like, oh, Ghost is alive, yo. He's definitely alive. Like, there's no way he's dead. And then I'm seeing, Rich actually sent me some videos of Michael Rainey Jr. and of Courtney Kemp saying that, no, he's definitely dead. He's never coming back, right? But the teasers continue regardless of this. They keep referencing the character. And when you keep referencing the character, it's only going to make people want to see him more. And it's only going to make people think he's still alive. Like they're setting up something here, So I want to say that I officially think Ghost is alive. And I think we are going to see him in the future of Power Book 2 Ghost. And I am Omari's new manager, as you see. So we are going to get Ghost. I've joined the Ghost is Alive cult officially. So I am here now. Ghost is alive.
So I want to make a comment on this, but Dana, would you like to make a comment first? Because you might have something to say.
Yeah, go ahead, Dana.
I do not know this man, y'all. I have never met him before in my life. He is delusional. Ghost is dead. Let him stay dead. We don't need ghosts. This is a Tariq show. I think it finally is him coming out into his own. There's literally no reason for the ghost of Ghost to even make an appearance. It doesn't make any sense. And, it would be so bad. It would undermine everything that Tariq has done. Him growing into his own person, even if that person was a poopy person, him growing into his own person, forming these relationships and these fallouts with River, go back and behind it. And what to do what? To do what exactly? Tell Tariq what to do? He didn't listen when he was alive. Why is he going to listen when he thought he was dead and then now he's alive? It makes no point whatsoever. And what fan service is that? Yay, we've seen Ghost. And then what? It takes away everything. So no, I don't want to see him. Let him stay dead. And they keep playing him. They put him on the phone. I don't even think that's just pure disrespect. He doesn't want to be there. I don't think he wants to be there. Did he and Courtney even have a falling out? Because it feels like a falling out thing. I'm getting Sex in the City vibes. He's Samantha at this point.
So
go ahead, Rich.
That's possible. Let me start by saying, let me reference Mr. Michael Rainey Jr. as Tariq. In the last episode of season 1, he says to Monet, "Ghosts never die." Well, that statement needs to be edited because ghosts never die unless your name is Omari Hardwick, apparently, because the character cannot make an appearance at all. And this episode, and this is why I asked before you started recording if this was going to be a little bit longer of a discussion. Um, I think it stands out like a sore thumb when you don't have him appear in this scene because, once again, let's go back to Michael Rainey Jr. in the video I sent you, Gary, where he said, Ghost is dead. People watch this show. This is a real show. People don't come back to life. In this episode, you see people that are dead. They come back in a dream sequence. So that's why I question, you mean to tell me that Ghost could not make a cameo appearance? I'm pretty sure people are going to be talking about Proctor. Hey, Proctor was in this episode. Because it's a cool moment to see some of the characters now. Jabari, don't really care about that character, but I did laugh to see him again. But just to see them come back, and these are all people that Tariq harmed. Either he got them killed or he killed them directly. So it kind of stands out to like a sore thumb if his father is not there. So I think people are definitely going to be talking about that. But in terms of if Ghost is dead, I feel like for right now, yes, Ghost is dead. Now, if the show goes in a decline and then you have the Empire showrunner take over, Courtney Kemp decides, I'm going to, obviously she has the Netflix deal. She may go on to do work on that stuff, and she does not want to have too much creative control. Then they can bring him back. And to answer the question that Dana said, what is the point of bringing Ghost back? Well, in my opinion, if I was doing this show, I would bring Ghost back, have it be the final season, and have the final season be between Ghost and Tariq. And he literally has to basically take him out, or vice versa. Because one thing we do know about Omari Hardwick, when the show ended, he has had countless interviews where he said, I think that Power should have gotten the 7th season. He said that multiple times. He wasn't ready to get rid of the character because there's a lot we still didn't know about the character's backstory. So I understand that there's definitely going to be people talking about this stuff. But yeah, for the moment, it should focus on Tariq. But if they want us to focus on Tariq, it needs to focus on Tariq. I don't want to see all of these references about Ghost. We saw Ghost mentioned multiple times throughout the season. Yes, this is the son of Ghost. He has to get out of his father's shadow. I understand that. But at some point, I don't want to hear anything else about Ghost. I want to focus on Tariq. So they need to get away from that because again, as people writing the show, they 100% know what they're doing. They're teasing that this is a possibility that this character is still around in some capacity. And I think that when you do that, you open up the audience to believe, oh, well, it is possible that he could come back. So they can't make these excuses like, oh, no, he's dead. Why are people talking crazy? You are the guys, y'all are people writing the show. So you know what you're doing when you write this stuff. So that's all I was going to say on it. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, I do believe that Ghost is dead.
No,
We'll say what? I think you cut out, Dana. What did you say?
Writers are known to purposely mislead the audience. Look at the whole situation with WandaVision.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's true.
No, he's dead. Let him stay dead. We don't need him. Go away. He has the zombie movie thing. Let him be a zombie. He dead in that too.
Yeah, he is dead in that. But I haven't seen him making anything outside of that and pursuing a rap career. I haven't seen Omari Hardwick do much else. So we'll see what happens. But no, I agree, Dana. If he's dead, he should stay gone. I just don't like when they have scenes like that opening scene, which was cool to see all these characters come back. And again, all of these characters, Tariq either got them killed or killed them. But you can't get Omari to show up for a quick second. That would have just blew people away.
Samantha situation. No, something happened. It was a fight. And look, he got 2 movies coming out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, go ahead.
I want to say one thing on that, right? Like they could have easily written that scene without no phone or no phone call or nothing. Like they just kept the actors that were in there, like the people who were already dead in there. Like they didn't have to even mention Ghost.
Well, yeah, because and I will give a shout out to Esther Negron because she made a comment. When the whole thing went down with Tariq, I mean, it was a couple people made comments on this on the show. When we saw Tariq in season 6, that last episode was his point of view of how he looked and viewed ghosts. So, in my opinion, if he does not care about Ghost, we don't even need we didn't need to have the phone call. None of that. Just make him completely ignore him because he's dead to me. Like as Dana you say, when something is dead, it's you're completely off the table. He's dead. He's dead to Tariq, so shouldn't even bother mentioning him at all in that scene. But I get it. But no, continue because I don't want to go too off the rails. I feel people are going to be talking about that for sure after they watch this episode. But continue.
Yeah, and one last thing before I let Dana have the final word as well. We never saw Ghost's body, when he was dead. So
Yeah.
it just opens it up to a possibility. And like you said, Rich, I could totally see the last season of Ghost, Power Book 2 Ghost, it's revealed he is alive and he comes back, and then we get this super gangster built up version of Tariq after 5 seasons, and he has to finally face his dad. He's like the end boss, the final end boss.
Yeah, the final boss. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I could totally see that happening. And if you have a man like Mecca around who's able to pull off all these miracles, I think it's possible someone in this universe could fake their death. So So yeah, I just want to say that. But yeah, go ahead, Dana. What do you want to say?
He is dead. Let him stay dead. Even if he is alive, he is dead to Tariq, and Tariq is dead to him. Let him go and live his best life. There's no reason, again, for him to come back at all. And even though we've seen the body, we have questions and we don't know everything that fully happened. That's okay. And also bringing up the whole Tariq thing and remember how we left and they said it was Tariq's point of view, right? There's a part of him that, he wishes he could just that last phone call with your dad. Or maybe you remember some missed messages from your dad that you never got and it manifests itself into nightmares and dreams. That's okay. But I don't have to physically see you anymore and to learn that you're actually alive. I don't want him back. And he's starring in a movie with Jennifer Lopez. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's in the future for him. So let him go and be in the movie with little J-Lo.
Wow, J-Lo, huh? Okay. But yeah, I mean that's what's great about art and storytelling. There's like so many ways to look at things, and I appreciate the way you just explained that, Dana, because that could totally be the case. Where Tariq, he has this deep longing to where he wishes he had a better relationship with his father and everything. So and that could manifest itself in a dream. So I could totally see that spin on it too. I'm not saying that that's completely wrong, but I'm just gonna say that I would love the version where Ghost is alive. So that's all I'm saying.
In a way, he acted how Ghost should have acted towards Tariq when Tariq walked away from Yasmin. Even though Tariq was a little poop head and was going to get in trouble regardless, Ghost still tried to show him some things, and so did Tasha. And because of that, he was able to build the foundation of where he is at today, where he kind of screwed up. He's still alive. There's still an opportunity for him to do better. But this was not the life that neither Tariq, oh my God, sorry, that neither Tariq nor Tasha wanted for him. So he was able to do that and give Yasmin what he probably in his heart now looking back maybe somewhat wished that they would have given him. So they
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I definitely want the people out there listening to chime in on that because I know everybody is buzzing about this. I've seen so many posts about it. In groups and on IG and on Twitter. So many people are talking about it. So definitely chime in. Let us know what you think. Is Ghost alive? Will we see Omari again in Power? When there's a new showrunner. Let us know what you think. But yeah, we're going to move on and get to our questions and discussion segment. I just want to hit you with a reminder to definitely, hit the like button and consider subscribing if you're enjoying the content. We have a lot coming up. We got Power Book 4 Force coming next week. So we're going to be covering that show as well. for the next few weeks, and then we have Snowfall, and we have a lot of like movie reviews coming. Uncharted, the Batman. So there's a lot of like great content, things of that nature coming up. So yeah, go ahead,
And
Dana.
just jumping off of that, we will have the whole Power Force situation. They have the press conference they're doing the Television Critics Association that is going to be on February 6th. That information pop off, and it'll be a really lively discussion about force because some people, we can say legally, have seen it, and they will have opinions.
Mm, wow, can't wait for those opinions. But yeah, so definitely, check out the channel. We cover many different things, so consider subscribing and definitely engage with the content, if you enjoy it, to let us know that you are enjoying it and that we need to do more of that. So let's dive right into our questions and discussions segment now. So I mentioned just now how we didn't see Ghost's body, so he could totally still be alive, possibly. Now, in this episode, we didn't see Lauren's body. We didn't see her actually pass away, and Dana spoke about this with the whole Effie. She might not have had it in her to actually go through with her plan of getting rid of Lauren. So the question is basically, do you actually think she was, killed? Do you think Effie killed her? Or, do you think there's a possibility Lauren might actually return later on? So I guess I'll go to you first, Dana, since you were talking about Effie a little bit already. So good.
Here's the thing. I don't think Lauren, given the circumstances that's been involved, wants to return. I think that if she is alive, she's been so scared straight with the whole situation that there's no reason for her to return. Carrie is dead, and she blames herself for that as well. And if you look at it, the conversations that she had was basically, "Oh, Carrie is dead, so that means you're going to be next." She knows that what she did was incriminate not just Tariq, but also Kane. And I'm pretty sure, through some Google searches, something of which will go down in another episode, she's going to realize who Kane actually is. She knows who he is in terms of, oh, he's a drug dealer, but the weight and the scaredness that Brayden had and the other ones had about Kanan, she will probably keep her away. If she is dead, rest in peace. But I think that be- it would be better that she is alive, but in a way and gone. And it really reflects on Effie, and it'll show that Effie still is not to say still she's not able to kill people, but there is actually an innocent and I don't want to say weak, but there's an innocent side to her that she has not lost, and that would be really great if she's not able to kill Lauren. There's a piece of humanity that's still in there because there was an interesting question that Brayden had with Effie when he said, how can we balance be doing what we do that's immoral, that's unmoral with morality? How can we be good bad people? We're selling drugs, but we have that moral compass. And that conversation could have easily been something that Effie was really paying attention to and why she didn't kill Lauren. Can we have that balance of we are drug people and we do bad things, but at the same time, we're not going to just go out there and start randomly killing people, even though they may deserve it in that situation, and they may be a snitch in that situation, they don't deserve to die. So if she's able to scare her off, bop her in the head, drive her to some type of secluded location, maybe the bus stop, remember the bus stop was was up the street or something, a mile away, maybe that's what really happened. And so I don't want to see Lauren back again in general, just in period, because she doesn't learn a lesson. She really should have not been there, and she should have left when her parents were there. Like, why didn't they take her home? Why would you send her back onto the same campus? Which, forget the situation which she's involved with Tariq. This seems to be like a big drug den in the whole college situation. And, you don't want your big old time Harvards and Yales looking at that. So go somebody else's school. Homeschooler. They have money. So yeah, just overall, I don't want to see her. But I don't know if she's dead. I really hope she's not dead because that means that Effie, it really, plays of whether or not we can be moral and still good people.
Yeah, good points. And I guess another point just to add on to that as well is like whether she is alive or dead, there are going to be consequences behind her disappearance. I think, like, because either Tariq is probably going to want to make sure that the plan was followed and that she's okay at some point, because he believes Brayden took her away somewhere, and if she's dead, that means her parents are eventually going to be like wondering what was going on, and that's going to spawn some kind of investigation or something into her disappearance. So Rich, what do you think of that? Is she dead, or do you think we might actually see this character again someday?
All right. So first and foremost, I think Dana made a very good point about, we saw that she was obviously disturbed by what happened, and that reaction, it could have pretty much been what you thought it was, but it is confusing to a degree because I feel like in that situation you have to believe that she probably did go through with something. You made the point, Gary, that if it was a situation where she goes missing, that I still think the parents will still, whether she's killed or not, the parents are still going to be looking for her. So it still raises suspicion on what happened to her. So if it was a situation where Effie just kidnapped her and has her stashed somewhere, that's still a bad look for what could happen with Tariq later in this case. Obviously, if she gets killed, it's a lot worse. But I kind of feel like either way, it brings a lot of unwanted attention to the case right now, because Tariq is not trying to, be in a situation where he's getting himself in trouble. So we'll have to see how that plays out, because it's hard to tell where they're going to go with it. But we just have to see which direction they're going to take, because again, she felt very guilty when she got in that bed. That's why I was like, okay, so something did happen, and I guess we'll finally get that answer next week.
Yeah, I do think we probably will get the answer, and yeah, hopefully we will get the answer in the finale, and we won't have to wait too long. But Dana, was you going to say something else on that?
No, I just really wanted to say, one of the last things that Brayden said, was during that whole dilemma that she was telling Effie, was that I could break my promise and become the person I never thought I would become. Effie never really, if you really looked at Effie's intelligent, is very intelligent, but she doesn't give across that cold killerness like, say, Kane does. Like, I don't care, I'm going to just kill you anyway. Kane actually, to me, feels like he will just kill you and that's it, and go on with the rest of his day. But that one thing, and she talked about, you already made your decision. All you have to do is act upon it. And if you looked at how Effie was, she was very determined. She got out of that car. She knocked Lauren in the head. She dragged her into the car and drove away. She didn't say anything. That whole thing with Brayden was the one who was pleading and was begging, and so was Lauren. Effie didn't say anything, and she came out that car with such determination that I think it was during that speech she knew that she wasn't going to kill her. And because Brayden was the one who was saying, yeah, I have to do this. And she's not stupid. She can figure out that it was Brayden who was probably the one who's going to pick up Lauren anyway, because Tariq and his whole situation. So that's how because how else would she have known exactly where he was driving?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and there will be people also who say that if Effie was serious about killing her, she would have just shot her in that moment instead of punching her. So that's another thing to note. So there's definitely some possibility that Lauren is not dead. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what they're gonna do with that. But so let's get to the next question, and this one is going to be a fun one. I'm really interested to see what you guys think of this. It's a very kind of open question, but there's, it's gonna help us think about, some possibilities in the future of the show and everything. So we saw the scene, with Tariq and Mecca. They finally come face to face. And, Tariq has the bag with, all the information and documentation on Mecca. And he can expose him for being, this huge ex-military informant. And, he could set, a bunch of wolves on Mecca basically by revealing this information, right? And his terms to Mecca are to send me $2 million in an offshore account or whatever, that I can control or access at some point. So I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think Tariq would do if he gets access to this $2 million? I mean, of course, he has to settle his legal fees. That's something. But beyond that, what do you think Tariq would do if he gets that money from Mecca? And will he get the money as well? We'll add that onto the question as well. So I'm going to go to you first, Dana. What do you think of that?
Yasmin. He's going to take his little cut so that he can pay off McLean. He's going to go and give it to Yasmin and set up some type of trust thing secretly through either the dude from The Cosby Show or McLean. And that's how Yasmin is going to get some of the money.
Yeah, I do think he will definitely look out for Yasmin, because she's like one his biggest priority now, I guess. His biggest
And
responsibility.
Also,
Yeah,
I think McLean has the backup. So remember he was snapping pictures and sending out information, and the whole thing with McLean, like who is that guy? And he was like breaking it down who he actually is. I think they also set up some kind of backup plan. So remember, like if I die, it'll still go all out. I think McLean is also the backup plan. It's like, hey, hold on to this. I'm going to get you your money. I figured out how. Hee hee. And that's also it.
yeah. I mean, Tariq, because obviously the whole reason he decided to stay in school is because he wants to get access to, to Ghost's, assets and everything that he left behind. But obviously there's an obstacle because he has to graduate first before he can get access to those funds. So, if he gets the $2 million, that opens up a lot of doors for him because, like we mentioned before, he can look after Yaz, he can make sure she's good and everything. He can settle any outstanding, invoices with Davis McLean. He can get himself a car so he's not walking everywhere, but it also gives him some financial security a little bit, to where, he wouldn't have to feel so pressured to, because he keeps running into this wall of, I need money, I need to sell drugs, I need to get, a big sum of drugs from whoever the plug is at that moment, or from Kane or whoever. So he keeps hitting that wall. So it's like if he has the $2 million, he can do something to where he doesn't have to rely on that, and that's why I think he might not get it. I think there might be some obstacle. Obviously, Mecca might even end up dying in the next episode, and that will cancel it out completely. But yeah, I think it would be too convenient if he gets that. So, but Rich, oh, go ahead, Dana. You had something to add.
No, just really quickly. Maybe it's time for him to leave school.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah, that
he
could be
could
a thing.
just up and leave. I mean, he got his teachers killed and everything else. So maybe it's time for him just to go.
Yeah, maybe the show leaves the camp. Well, I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, it's a possibility that maybe. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But Rich, do you have any thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dana hit it on the head. I think that money is basically going to get saved for Yaz in some way, shape, or form. We know obviously that the family lawyer knows where she's at, so I think that he would prioritize to at least leave her some money. I mean, obviously he's accepted the fact that he's not going to interfere, but just set her up some money so that she has something in the event that she needs it further down the road. But I think that's more likely what his goal is, because this entire season he's been trying to look out for his sister. So it makes sense that that would be a reason that you can, even though you physically can't see her, you can at least leave her some money behind.
Yeah, yeah. She has to be like the first person he thinks about. So yeah, that's definitely, and I like how they had that scene as well where he actually goes to see her, like he sees her with the new family. So there was people saying that they think she's with Ghost. So like they debunked that completely. She's actually with a family, a new family. And I like that moment where he gets out of the car. And shouts to Michael Rainey Jr. But he looks like he's gonna go right to the front door and knock, but instead he just looks and he sees she's happy and everything, and he's like, okay, I can let her go because me showing up might do more harm than good at this moment. So I like that moment that he had there. But I do think he still wants to make sure she is going to be good forever. So if he gets access to that kind of money, he's definitely going to think of her. But yeah, definitely chime in people as well, on that one, because I want to see some more theories about what may happen if he does get access to that. So yeah, one more thing before we get to Monet and Mecca and everyone. Do you think they are eventually going to set up a Tariq versus Brayden scenario that is similar to Ghost and Tommy? Because we know that those two had a lot of conflict in the past in power. So do you ever see them they've kind of teased it already, but do you think they will go full steam ahead with a Brayden and Tariq rivalry in this show? And will we start to see it maybe after next week's finale? Maybe it will be a theme of the third season. So what do you think about that, Rich?
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be one of the storylines going into season 3. Basically about the backlash of the Sweeney photo and how it impacts the family. I think that they can't tell that full story in one episode. So that I think will definitely be one of the main things you'll see going into the next season. And then we also recall that in this season, they had a scene where Brayden basically signed over himself as the CEO, or basically he is the owner of the company as well. He has some majority ownership in the company. So I think you're definitely going to see all that come into play next season. But yeah, they tease it enough. There's a lot of tension between those two characters now. So I think it's pretty much they're going to go in that direction. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be long and drawn out and last all of next season, but definitely I think towards the very beginning, because it has to be what other hurdles are Tariq going to have to deal with as he goes into a new season. So I think we're definitely going to see that.
Yeah. If they do it, I just don't want them to. I don't want them to spam it like they did with Tommy and Ghost, because they kept spamming that. Like 1 minute they're not friends, next minute they're friends again, next minute they broken up again, next minute they're like doing robberies and different things together again. Like, so I hope they don't run it into the ground if they go in that direction. I hope it's like well paced and well built up, and I hope that we see some great moments of drama and tension come from it as well. But go ahead, Dana. She's giving me the faces right now, so I don't know if I said something crazy, but go ahead, Dana.
But here's what had happened was Brayden, during that whole thing, when he found out that Tariq used the photo, because he was like, how did Tate get the photo? Oh, it was you rawr. And then he still answered Tariq's call when Tariq told him to pick up Lauren. And he said, okay, all right, buddy. So they are playing a little bit with that back and forth, because he gave the whole speech about you're self-centered. The world does not evolve around you. You have other people to think of, to consider. And he didn't. And Tariq was like, he legit kind of brushed off the whole thing, because it wasn't just Tariq. It was also Effie who said the world does not revolve around you. And that also comes in play with even the ghost saying, hey, look what you done did. What you did affected other people. My thing is, in regards to this, I feel that it would, I think it would also come into play with Brayden wanting to walk away from Tariq at the moment. That whole moral compass situation. And then you also would have to look and examine the uncle. I mean, Brayden is kind of stuck in between that hard place in the rocks and the wall and all that other stuff. If you look at it this way, Brayden's uncle did something that was really awful. He dressed up basically as OJ and had the other one as Nicole Simpson. What is it, Nicole Brown Simpson? And he did the whole blackface back in '94 during that whole trial case. Does he deserve to lose everything after that? Some people would say yes. That was a terrible thing to do. So yes, you deserve to finally lose your career and everything that you built in. What'll end up happening, I wonder, is how severely will there be family blowback in terms of now we're going after your uncle and all of your other family members, and how closely would those people be examined? I really don't think it's going to have direct blowback on Brayden, but within that family, it probably will. In the sense that Brayden's guilt will probably cause more of an internal chaos within himself than what would actually be happening. So he may be the one who ends up confessing to his family, like this is the photo and this is where it came from, and it came from Tariq. I don't know whether or not he is 100% done with Tariq, because this is kind of I don't fully know where Brayden is at mentally with this whole thing. I know that he's mad. I know he kept saying, the family is not going to be the same after this, but it really doesn't seem like he's going to completely cut off Tariq from his life. Because if that was the case, the whole situation with Lauren. But then you could also say that the only reason why he was going to kill Lauren was because it affected his brother Trace, who was a dumbass at this point. But and so my thing was he trying to protect his family by killing Lauren, and then he still let her go? So it's, you see, because of that indecision is kind of wishy-washy. I don't know how that will impact the relationship, because that relationship is still wishy-washy. So I do see them kind of being friends, but maybe not at first buddy buddy again. But it may actually end up having that Tommy ghost feel to it, because Brendan he's still in the middle. He doesn't really know what it is he wants to do.
Yeah, yeah, you make some great points, and I fully believe that if it does happen to where these two are at odds with each other, I do think they could very well play on that, that connection that Brayden has with Kane already, and that could be a point of contention as well in the story. That could be an additional conflict that Tariq has to deal with. But I guess much of that also depends on what happens, with this other situation that we're going to get to in a moment. But yeah, there's so many ways they could do this. Of course, if they keep the story on the campus, that's gonna it's gonna keep them very close to each other. So it's not gonna be like Ghost and Tommy where there was distance between them. Like they didn't have to see each other all the time. Like these two characters are gonna be forced to probably see each other a lot, if they're at odds with each other. So that's going to be an interesting, thing as well to see how they handle that, being on the same campus together. And then, there's the whole course correct thing, like what's going to happen with that if these two split up. So yeah, there's many layers there. Go ahead.
No,
James.
just later on, a little stick a pin in the course correct, because that's kind of like over with. They have no supply because of the QR code, and it was stolen. And Tariq definitely doesn't know about that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's been a few times where the supply dried up, but yeah, I think they can, if they want to, they can get it back running. But then if they're at odds with each other, then yeah, it's like who is actually going to be in charge of it? Like, because if you guys are beefing with each other, you can't both run this otherwise it's going to be some conflicts there. So yeah, we'll have to see how the writers handle that, if that's the direction that they're going to go in. But let's get to what is likely to be one of the major themes of next.
Wait, Richard didn't say anything. You
Did I?
skipped Richard.
Oh no,
Okay.
I did. I did.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought I went to him first. On the-
oh.
Did you have
Er,
anything else to say, Rich? By the way, did you
Oh
have
no,
any?
I think that y'all pretty much covered a lot of stuff that I was already going to say, and some stuff I've already said. So you can carry on.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, let's get to what is likely to be, one of the major themes of next week's episode, and that is the whole plan to murder Lorenzo, which Monet has quote unquote orchestrated. Because we don't know if she has another plan in mind, but
mm,
uh, yeah. So how do you guys see this playing out? Because I mean, that's such a broad question, because Stars had, like, the writers of Stars have shown that they have the ability to surprise us. They have the ability to take us like off guard. Like, they surprise us every week basically. So we don't know for sure which direction this can go. There could be a complete curveball coming, that we just can't see. But in your mind, based on what we do know, how do you see this whole plan playing out next week in the finale? So I will go to you first, Dana. What do you think?
oh. Well, basically, I don't know if you can say certain words, but the male counterparts in this show who are adults are stupid. So here's the thing. I think it's all Monet, and I think it's Monet is going to she set up Mecca to go kill Lorenzo. And at the end, she's going to kill Mecca. Because at the end of the day, she can't be free from either one of them. Mecca is one of those people who is going to definitely track her down. Um, the only one who, in a weird way, can kind of save her is either herself or Tariq by telling out all that information. So I wonder if, because Monet and Tariq are still talking to each other, did Tariq also tell I'm sorry, did Tariq also tell Monet the information that he knows? But I don't really think so, because that wouldn't be in his best interest either way. But I do feel that Monet is the orchestrator of everything. That drive-by was so tacky and so slow and just done so poorly. And here comes Ezekiel, which was the best part. What's going on? He's like 6 foot tall. What's going on? Sticking his head out and everything. But it was done so poorly that it was definitely Monet. And it in a way to get Mecca to think that it was Lorenzo trying to kill him. She's asking all the right questions, all this weird situations and things are happening, at the very end, yeah, you have to take care of all my kids. We're going to all run away together. So I have to believe that something is going to happen in that air, or on the ground, and she's going to end up taking that plane, and they're going to have a nice little vacation, and then they come back in the season 3. But it's going to be Mecca and definitely Lorenzo are just dead. It's just the smartest thing to do at this point. She doesn't want to be tied anymore to Lorenzo. Lorenzo and his ego is not going to let her go. I do, I do wonder about those scores. The age, the birth certificate. Was it Lorenzo who leaked the birth certificate? Was it Mecca, or was it Monet? Because if you look at it, the whole family was relying on, what was it, on Zeke getting out there, going to MBA, and basically riding his coattails. But remember what Lorenzo did say: I don't want any other man taking care of me. So he could have easily leaked that birth certificate. Plus, also, he's angry at Monet for just lying. So he could have did that. Monet found out, retaliation. Plus, she doesn't want to be involved with Lorenzo. Her life has moved on from the 10 years, and Lorenzo doesn't seem like the kind of guy where you could just easily walk away and be like, "Hey, peace." So he's dead. Everybody's dead. And Mecca, he's dead.
Yeah, yeah. I think I kind of side with you a little bit, in the sense of, I think there's a huge possibility both can go out. Both Mecca and Lorenzo could be gone in the finale. Um, but I don't know. I know there was a commenter that said, Lorenzo is going to be around for a while. Um, but I don't know. But the way the story is set up at the moment, like last week, if you would have asked me this question, I would have said Mecca is going to stay alive, Lorenzo's going to die. I believe, we did say that last week or something, but now after seeing this episode, like, and hearing what's known about Mecca, and then the whole deal with Tariq, just something makes me feel like he's not going to make it out of the season now. And I think there's a huge possibility that both those characters could be gone. And like I said before, also I think if Lorenzo is out the picture, I feel like we can see like the full growth of Kane and Drew's characters as well. If they have no father figure, we can see those characters really step up and kind of reach their full potential as characters, I think. So that would be interesting to see in the next season if that was the case. But and then also for Diana, there wouldn't be somebody to protect her, because Lorenzo has been so far very protective of her, and he's kind of like guarded her from Monet in a sense, because Monet won't cross Lorenzo to do anything to Diana. But if Lorenzo is out the picture, all gloves are off. Like that the tension between those two can reach its peak. So there's so many possibilities if those two characters are gone. So that's just where my head is. But real quick, I want to give shout outs to Rich, because he predicted that he said last week that Mecca probably knew that Kane was involved in that robbery, and that he was playing games, like he was playing Kane in a sense to set up something later on, and we see that happen in this episode, where he's keeping Kane locked up in the house. My thing is, like, if Kane was like locked up there, right? How did Monet like get in so easy then? Like, it's like I don't know, but it seems like he could have left if he wanted to. Anyway, but
She's never been to his house.
is it? Did she always? Was he always at the same place? I don't know. Was he always like at the same place when he met her, or was it like another place?
Well, I remember there was the restaurant. He bought out the whole restaurant.
He's been at the same place.
Okay.
He was at the same place. So
she had a key, basically.
I could see her having a key. You can't see her having a key.
Okay, I guess
that's... baby, please. Did you see the engagement ring?
Yeah. That engagement ring was something special.
Unfortunately, she didn't see it though.
Yeah, she didn't see it. Davis saw it though. Davis McQueen saw it.
He still has it.
But Rich, what's your thoughts on this whole Lorenzo Mecca situation? Who is going to make it out? Who is going to be the last survivor?
Okay, so I'm a little conflicted on this, because I've said multiple times on this podcast that I think Mecca is an excellent adversary. In this entire season, you saw how ruthless he was, breaking people's hands and just shooting people. I mean, he's a no nonsense kind of guy. He will do whatever he needs to do, and he does it with a lot of force. And he's also very manipulative as well. So I think that he has all the makings of an excellent villain. But the weakness is, of course, Monet, and the fact that he still is trying to have something with her. So I think, with Lorenzo, he has been in jail all of last season and half of this season. We haven't really seen him do too much outside of jail, except for, over the last couple episodes, you saw him obviously working with Drew to basically do what he can to get back in the drug game. So, I mean, I think personally that this story ends, as I said before, with her losing both of them. Now, obviously, I think it's a situation where one of them could get killed, and then the other one ends up going to prison, and then that's how she ends up losing both of them. But the other thing to remember is that they also had the tease of Evelyn, Uncle Frank's wife, and the warning she had to Monet said, "Oh yeah, you need to watch out with Lorenzo." I believe she knows that Monet has something to do with Uncle Frank getting killed, and she also wants revenge. It could, I know Dana said earlier, Monet set up the that shootout, and I believe that's 100% accurate. If that wasn't the case, it very well could have been these people working for Evelyn. But I think that at the end of the day, if Monet does decide who she wants to be with and she is able to choose that person, she may still lose that person anyway because Evelyn wants to get her payback on her for the fact that they killed Frank. So it's a situation where I think it can go any way. I personally do not want to see Mecca leave the show yet because I feel like now that you know even more things about the character, I want to see where this is going. But obviously, it's not going to end well because he's sitting here thinking, well, I have all these trust funds set up. I'm going to take care of the entire family, all this other stuff. What I mean, he has to be smart enough to think, well, what is my backup plan in case this fails? Because if Monet turns on him, what would stop her from turning on Mecca? They kill Mecca, and then her and the kids they go away with Lorenzo. I mean, that could still happen. So that's why I said I want to see what his backup plan. Obviously, because he is a snitch, and because I honestly feel like in a lot of movies, TV shows, you want to see the person that snitches go down. So obviously, that's why I said it's a bit conflicted because that could still happen. But I'm curious. Again, I can't believe that the character would just completely be so in love with Monet. He would never think, oh, she will never do any harm to me, even though her own kids have done harm against me. So we'll see what happens. And again, the other thing is with Lorenzo, and you have Drew and Diana on the other side with Lorenzo. Drew and Diana haven't seen any of this stuff that Mecca's doing as far as the fact that he would have them on accounts, and they didn't agree. Of course, they didn't see it. They didn't agree to any of that. So that's why I said it pits these two sides against each other, and it's a conflict because I don't think anyone wants to see Kane versus Drew. It will be interesting to see that, of course, but they had teasers of the tension all season. It's the family has had tension all season, so you could see some of this stuff happening, but I don't think that they will go far enough to kill each other in terms of the family. But as far as Mecca and Lorenzo are concerned, I feel like one of those characters will get killed, or both of them, one way or another, are going to get taken out. Doesn't mean that they both die, but I just feel like at the end of this story, she ends up losing both of them, and then she has to start over again, and really, whether it's relying on Tariq or just basically trying to figure out another way to make it. But I think this is how this ends because we know that Zeke is now not going to be an option, at least for the moment, with the draft and NCAA regulations. He's not an option, so it really puts Monet in a situation where now she has to come up with another plan on how to make it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and that's a great point you made right there because now Zeke has to be factored into her plan, But Dana, what did you have to say on that?
A couple of things. One is fantasy booking. Wouldn't it be great that no one actually kills what's his name? Mecca. And in fact, the information leaks that Dante is Mecca to all of the people that he wronged, and they all go out and they kill him, they circle him around, and then they all kill him. Like it's a big old fight with the neighborhood. That would be great. But that's a fantasy. I want to know where does Dirty Diana come into play with this? Because if you looked at what Diana did, and you look at this episode, right? And the whole thing is such thing as a fair fight. And then Diana basically revealed everything, thinking that she was going to be queen of the household after this. And remember her reaction with when they got all the drugs back with her and Drew, and Lorenzo was there, and he looked at Drew. He's like, "Oh, my man, I got it." That little silent little nod, and he wouldn't even look at Diana. He gave that look like, "I don't know you," and she had that hurt, and then she was crying. She went over to what's his name? I am forgetting all the names. She went to Tariq and started crying, even though technically she was trying to get the whole thing to set up with the QR code, even though that was all like a big scam thing. I do believe that deep in her heart, what she did say, she meant. She was really hurt by how everything fell apart. Her family just basically fell apart by her revealing everyone's business. And I wonder what Diana is going to do in her little stupid mind, maybe, to put this family back together again. will she be the one, because she's a little sneaky and we can't trust her, and she always has her ears going beep 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 beep. Is she the one who figured out Mecca and Dante are the same people as well? And will she somehow be trying to have some type of responsibility with trying to kill Mecca? I know it sounds outlandish, but she's a hot mess and she needs to get back in with the family. So I wonder how that's going to come into play.
That's yeah. I feel like there's a lot of different possibilities. That would be very interesting. Thing. I do believe I do agree that she has to get back in good with the family. So I will be very curious to see how she does that. One quick thing I was going to add, though, is that I do recall that right before Lorenzo got out, he got that phone call from Sax. Remember, he told Sax, "Oh yeah, I'll tell you whatever you want to know, whatever you need to know." I don't know if that meant that he gave them some information and he ratted out some stuff as well. So I'm curious to see if there's a reason for that dialogue in the first place, because he could essentially be working to some degree, working with the police or in some capacity as well, or getting information on who are these people that are doing things, and then giving them that information later. So I'm curious to see how that actually is going to work out. So in other words, he could be an informant as well, but I don't really know if they're going to go that direction. I don't think they're going to go that direction, but I do think that there's definitely more to that situation. Because right now, you look at how everything plays out, it's going to lead somebody to believe, oh yeah, so Lorenzo is either. I mean, they let the audience believe and go either way. Either Lorenzo is done or Mecca is done. But again, I just want to reiterate, Mecca, I can't believe that he would be so in love with Monet to think, oh, she would never turn her back on me. So that's why I said I want to really see how they finish that storyline. And again, I hope they don't kill that character off yet. But again, he can go out in a blaze of glory in the next episode, and that's totally fine. We just have to see what the overall plan is.
Yeah.
Mecca is also Joe from You, if you really look at it. So all of these years, you suddenly watch ESPN and you feel it in your gut that, oh, that's my son. And so you track down Monet, the whole family. You know exactly where she's at. You go and you live in that same Manhattan neighborhood. I don't know where she lives, maybe Queens. I'm not sure. But you go and you move to New York City. Risk the possibility of someone seeing you, because remember, the FBI, the feds were so afraid of you being found out. They even had you in protection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you escaped from them to go find Monet, pick up your son, and think both of you are going to go fly off together. Find out that he's actually married to Lorenzo. Don't leave her alone. Nudge your way into the whole family. Get Kane to be on your side. Confuse him. And let all these different pieces fall as they may in order so that you can trick Monet into going with you. He's Black Joe. You can't tell me that. He's not.
Joe from You. That's hilarious.
He's Joe from You. So it doesn't make any sense, even with his actions. He is obsessed. So, and then all of us, I don't know. And then you leave your file in the bag, even though it's in the case thing. You know that it could be stolen. Mm-hmm. So you still leave your file with all of your information, regarding who you actually are, in your possession. I don't get it. Was he going to take it with him the whole time?
There's definitely more to that I think we're going to find out next week. There has to be a lot more to that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'll say that much.
Yeah, and we saw like a brief glimpse of them trying to play happy families with Zeke in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Monet and Mecca and Zeke, having a sit down and a little mother, father, son moment, between them. So yeah, I mean, I guess that was that was, Mecca's ideal situation, and the ring, I guess, plays into that. He wanted to, propose to Monet and make things official and everything, and maybe even move away somewhere or something. I don't know, but that has, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I believe that. I believe that he wanted that little piece of family thing, and then
Yeah.
with the 3 kids, he kind of like breathed, aspirated. Fine, we'll take this. Oh, they're my
Yeah,
children.
I guess Lorenzo and Mecca are kind of like in a similar situation in that regard, because Lorenzo's like, I don't want this Z kid around, and then Mecca's like, I don't want Kane and all these other kids around, like, so yeah.
See, this is why they both have to die. So Mary can go on. I keep calling her Mary, but Monet can go on and live her best life with her children that don't want her no more.
Yeah, and then I think if they're both gone, that opens up more doors for possible future storytelling. But I don't know. There could be another huge twist about either one coming. So who knows?
We need the sister at this point. At least we got her name.
Oh yeah. We learned about that, so that's a possibility. And I like what Richard said as well about the Uncle Frank situation, because they definitely referred to that for a reason. So I think that is going to come back in the next episode. That's going to lead to something. The whole Uncle Frank, and his widow showing up in episode 7, I believe it was. So
she kills Lorenzo.
But by the way, a very quick correction. LaToya Luckett is the actress that is playing Jukebox Mom on Raising Kanan. So I don't know who's playing the sister, because I saw that someone left a comment saying that LaToya Luckett. No, LaToya Luckett is playing Jukebox Mom on Raising Kanan season 2.
Okay.
So I don't know who's playing the sister, Monet's sister. We'll have to find out who that is if it's not already out there.
Yeah, we'll find out. But yeah, those were all the questions I had. So I'm going to open the floor up. Is there anything else in particular either of you wanted to mention about, this episode, or any thoughts about, leading into the finale? What, any thoughts on your mind at all? So Dana, you got anything?
I do. I got some things. Can we talk about the lovely setup? I think you would call it cinematography or something fancy that just goes with the whole setup of how it looked. One was Lorenzo. When he found out that he was robbed, and he went into the room, not his room. I believe it was one of the kids' room, and he trashed the room. But before he trashed the room, he punched the mirror, and you would see like the broken mirror and how it was all fractured. That was symbolic of the fractured family. Yay, yay them for that image. That was really cool. So I really like that part. And also it's really hard to put back a mirror again. There will always be cracks and creases. And so this, I feel that it leads to him always being unable to trust Monet. So he's not able to trust Monet at this point. The family is so broken that they're not able to trust each other. Everyone at this point hates Diana. Monet is running around trying to pick up whatever pieces she can. Lorenzo doesn't want her. His sons, he's looking at, a little lopsided. And Zeke is still there, and he's angry about that whole thing. So that I thought was a really great image that they used. Another thing that I wanted to find out was Lena. And again, maybe in the next season, we're going to get Lena's story, Monet's sister, and how she always wanted the boy. She always wanted a boy, and we need to have that conversation. We need another family sit down without Lorenzo, without whatever his name is, Mecca, because they're both dead. So that would be really nice. Another thing is I want to know what Zeke is going to do, because everything that he's been training for is kaput. Even when he thought that he can go and get that the private trainer, and to go make it to the NBA, that's not going to happen. Remember, the lawyer was like, "You can kiss that goodbye." You in trouble when your lawyer leaves the table before you even do. So that was a really great scene right there. I do feel that Diana is going to have some kind of breakdown of trying to realizing that what she did was cute at the moment, but will would like her to not play the victim because that would be really great. Because as Effie said, you know, you reap what you sow. You're the one who actually did the dirtiness, so now you have to live in that dirt. She didn't say that to her, but it was another conversation. Somewhere because they was scrolling on their phones. So what they did say when they was on their when he was scrolling the whole article basically read that Ezekiel Cross, poster boy for the Stansfield Stallions, have been accused of falsification. Stansfield University and coaches may face penalties. So the school itself is also might have faced penalties due to this corruption. Ooh, they just called it a corruption. The committee decides penalties case by case. Each case is unique, and applying case precedent is difficult, if not impossible, because all cases are different. Each case has its own aggravating and mitigating factors, and the committee considers both sides in assessing penalties. So, how will that affect not just him but his teammates as well? Will they be what is it? I forgot the actual basketball term for it, but like it's like a life sentence, like a ban thing. Well, you can't play anymore. Period. They did that for a football team long time ago. It was in one of them documentaries. So I want to know what the ramifications and how it's going to happen with the school. And overall, the school looks terrible. You have the drug thing running rampant. Now there's corruption with the basketball team. This is not looking good for donors, just in general. I wouldn't want to send my kids there. It's too much that's going on. Also, really quickly, I don't think a PR team is going to help them with this either. But also, the Brayden and his whole dilemma that he has to face with not just his family, but I wonder how he's gonna feel. Will he be able to feel that he's able to trust anyone? Because he let Tariq into his home. They went camping, even though his family kind of in a weird way was trying to shoot him because he was a black guy running in the woods. Remember that whole scene? I didn't like that scene. But still, I wonder how Brayden is going to manage this whole pitcher situation that we kind of already talked about. But I want to know how this and how will he feel about his brother. The whole thing is to protect. Remember, he did say, he said, I could break my word and protect everyone. Um, or I could become the person I never thought I would become. Just because he didn't kill Lauren still doesn't mean that he completely walked away. What is going to happen with that pitcher? And how will it impact his brother? His brother is Talkie McTalkster. Kane is still out there on those streets. So I'm also wondering about that whole situation. Will Kane end up killing Trace? Will Brayden take the whole fall for everything? Maybe Brayden will go to jail. So I don't know what that situation is going to happen with that. So overall, I think that is kind of everything that I really wanted to talk about. Also, Effie just looked so sad. The way how it ended with that song, I just wanted to give her a hug. She looked like she needed a hug, and she also just looked like she didn't want to be there. Because remember when like Tariq was stirring in the bed and he went to go grab her and she was just like a mess and he wasn't really in tune to what was going on because he was asleep. But I wonder if Effie is proud of not just her decision, whatever happened with Lauren, but her overall decision in getting in this lifestyle, how that is impacting her. And maybe we won't always, maybe she won't be with Tariq. Maybe she'll walk away and disappear. I don't know, but it'll be really interesting. So that's everything.
Cool. Yeah, great points. Yeah, the school is definitely a PR team's worst nightmare. Like, because so
Oh
much
yeah,
is
and then everyone
happening.
is either dead and they commit suicide.
Exactly. Yeah. So much death. But and people just show up on campus and end up in people's rooms just like that. Like, it's that's a security nightmare. But yeah, so so Rich, any final thoughts on this episode, or any thoughts in your head leading into next week's finale?
Yeah, I thought it was a great episode. I was wrong about Carrie's murder, or should I say suicide, because I thought that was going to be a major focal point. And obviously, you had the stuff with Tate that they introduced to try to make you think that he was going to get involved. But then but then they talk about this other eyewitness that witnessed Tariq and Kane, at the scene of the crime. Which, like I said, we don't know anything about that. So I guess we'll have to see if that's going to be brought up once again, because I feel like they were trying to get that information, but then of course they wasn't successful in getting that information at that point in time. So I think right now there's just a lot of questions about how are you going to finish off the season. Last week's episode, I thought everything was fantastic, and I thought it was so good of an episode, it made me question, well, why is this not the season finale? So I'm curious to see what happens next week. You have the stuff going on with Mecca and Lorenzo. That has to get to some point. Something has to happen with that. You have Tariq's trial and that intensifying further. We got to see what happens with that. And then you have all the other factors of what happens with Effie, what happens with Diana. I do agree with what Dana said. I think Trace is a dead man walking, especially if Kane finds out. And of course, Kane was the one that also told Brayden to take out Lauren, and that didn't happen. So I'm curious to see what happens. But looking forward to it for sure next week.
And also, just really quickly, an honorable mention to Lisa Marie, because she did get mentioned.
Mhm.
So, and I remember during last season, we was all thinking, not last season, during Power, we was all wondering, will Lisa Marie grow up and will be the enemy to Tariq? So I liked how they mentioned her.
I do think there's a high possibility of her returning to the show. So that would be great to see, to see whether she'd be an ally or an enemy to Tariq. She could also, there could also be future crossovers with Tommy. He could end up back over here, or vice versa. Who knows? So yeah, it'll be interesting to find out. But yeah, next week, we will be here to cover the finale of Power Book 2 Ghost, episode 10, that will be. And then, we're going to be here twice next week, like I mentioned before, because the premiere episode of Power Book 4 Force is coming next week. So we will have 2 episodes, releasing at some point next week to, covering both of those shows. So be on the lookout for that. Definitely, leave your comments. Let us know what you think of all these shows. And yeah, we're going to get straight into our shout outs. So, Rich, you got any shout outs for the people?
Oh, yeah. I just want to give a thanks to everybody that's been commenting on the show, liking the show. We definitely appreciate all the comments, the feedback, and the engagement. So please feel free to let us know your thoughts on some of the things we discussed today, as well as what you think is going to happen next week in the finale, because it should be a really good finale. And yeah, just thank you for the continued support. We always love doing these shows, and we love, especially when we see all of you commenting and liking it as well. So thank you very much.
Indeed. Dana, you got any?
Yes, thank you so much for just listening to us. We love your comments. We read your comments. So thank you for just participating in the comments. And we love that you love the show, and we love the show as well. And like Gary was saying, look forward to us doing Power. There may be other stuff that will be happening as well. It's going to be a very busy week, especially for next week. So look forward to that. I'm excited to know what everyone has to say about Power Force. And also, really quickly, they did mention influence in this episode. So I look forward to also what influence is going to bring, and how Tate is going to keep conning and scamming and scheming.
Oh yeah, yeah, I definitely. I want to know when that show is coming too. You know, because there might come a time where this is a full-time podcast. We might be here all year round.
Old and gray. Now remember, Tariq is now a 40-year-old man, and back in my day, he was a kid.
Yeah, like they're trying to have power on TV all year. So yeah, look forward to that. Um, I do want to give a big shout outs to someone called Isaiah D. Flowers who reached out to us on Instagram. So people are hitting us up, in all different places. Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and we really appreciate all of this. All of that, engagement helps us learn that we do have an audience and people do enjoy the show, and it helps us get better, and it helps us be more committed and driven. So we love hearing from all of you. So big shouts to him, and also big shouts to Robert Silva and Kwame as well, who I also regularly speak to about the show, both the Powercast and Power. So big shouts to those people. um, and yeah, one more thing, like people in the comments, also let us know, what other shows you're watching too, so we, because, we're trying to see what other shows we can realistically, cover. And we want to make sure that, we're covering shows that people enjoy as well as Power and stuff. So, Snowfall is going to be one of those shows, of course. And there might be some others, I won't say too much, but there might be some other shows that we cover in the near future that you guys might like. So we want to know what people are watching, that we might be able to cover. So definitely do that too. But yeah, that is going to be it for this week. We will be back next week for the finale and for the premiere. So be on the lookout for that. Until then, take care and stay healthy, everyone. Peace out.